Hi. I'm waiting for everyone to stop talking. Okay. Thank you. This is literally what I do with my 5-year-old kindergartners at work. Sorry. Not that you guys are 5-year-olds or not, but it's okay. All right, so I'm going to be talking about beauty in apologetics. So we will get started. And yes, this is a Prezi before everyone freaks out and says, is this a Prezi or a Microsoft PowerPoint? It's a Prezi. Yes. All right. So, what is beauty? Have you ever asked yourself that before? Considered the definition of beauty? Because I know I have many, many times. What are some things that you guys have, or I guess some ways that you guys have defined beauty? Shout them out.
Relationship. It just makes you feel a certain kind of way.
I love it. Yeah, absolutely.
Something that sparks joy.
Like Marie Kondo?
Yes.
Absolutely.
It doesn't have to be pretty.
Yeah, absolutely. Mm-hmm. What? Sarah, what did you say? Purity? Lindsay?
I think beauty is genuine, sincere love.
Beautiful. I'm going to say beautiful a lot during this talk. I mean, obviously. So I first wanted to include Psalm 139, verse 14. I will give thanks to you, for I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Wonderful are your works, and my soul knows it very well. I guess I didn't really meditate upon this quote, or this verse, but I saw it and I was like, yes, that is good, and that is what I need to put in this Prezi. But it just kind of says it all in a nice, succinct way. But for the purposes of this talk, I love all of the definitions that you guys shared, and a lot of what you guys just said are things that I'm going to be touching on. But for the purposes of apologetics and keeping the continuity of what all of us are going to be talking about today, beauty, in the sense that I'm going to describe it, is considered a transcendental, in metaphysics and philosophy, a sense of being or a property of being. Being as in, like, your existence, like us as human beings. But that things that go beyond what we can, I guess, interpret in our minds to a certain extent. And you've probably heard beauty in conjunction with truth and goodness. So people probably have said, God is beauty and God is truth and God is good. Using all three at the same time, which is very true because, well, we know, God is obviously a part of the Trinity. But these transcendentals are all Trinitarian in nature. They all work together. They don't work against each other. They're complementary. And there's a sense of, if this one thing is true, they're all true. So, if you say, this tree is beautiful, then it must also be good, and it must also be true. So that's kind of the definition that I'm sticking with. Although, keep in mind everything that you guys said, because those definitions are also important and a lot more concrete than this really philosophical one. So I wanted to share a little bit about my inspiration for this talk. I went to Seek this past January, and I attended a luncheon that was all about beauty and a part of an initiative that Focus is doing. And I heard this quote from Pope Benedict the 16th during that talk, and I literally, like, it just literally smacked me upside the head like a bat. Yeah, I don't know, like, it just did. And I was like, I think knowing in the back of my mind that apologetics was probably going to be the theme of this retreat, it wasn't decided yet, but we were all pretty sure, and I was just like, yes, this could be a thing. And so, and not only that, like I said, I think we don't necessarily always think of beauty or always think of like goodness and truth, but like it's always occurring in our lives and it's always good to be aware of. And so like that talk made me a lot more aware of all three of those things, but in this case, especially beauty. So I thought I would bring this to you guys. And like I said, Pope Benedict said this and did a lot, wrote a lot about beauty, and online when you read about it, it's talked about as, just like theology of the body is, you know, a title of St. JP2's, you know, works. I would say this is not nearly as big as that, but Pope Benedict wrote a lot about theology of beauty. So I would recommend highly looking it up, but I don't want to necessarily take all of the time that I have to share that right now. So yeah. So the first thing I want to talk about is beauty in nature. I'm just going to give you guys a minute to read this quote to yourself in silence. I'll read it out loud, yeah. All right. Let all creation help you to praise God. Give yourself the rest you need. When you are walking alone, listen to the sermon preached to you by the flowers, the trees, the shrubs, the sky, the sun, and the whole world. Notice how they preach to you a sermon full of love, of praise to God, and how they invite you to proclaim the greatness of the one who has given them being. And that was a quote from St. Paul of the Cross. Now, St. Paul of the Cross lived from 1694 to 1775, and he was Italian. He was canonized in 1867. He was a soldier for a very short time, and he founded the Congregation of the Passion. I couldn't find a whole lot about him. It was kind of one of those saints that you just don't know a lot about. But this quote really, of all the nature quotes from saints that I found, this one really stuck out to me. And I think it was the specificity that he went into, you know, specifically listing flowers, trees, shrubs, sky, being able to appreciate and, you know, thank God for all of, you know, all of the things in nature that he created. Yeah. So next, I'm just going to share a couple personal pictures and tidbits about said pictures. Sunsets and water, for me, are like the natural things that really, like, I guess help me to praise God and thank God for like the creation around me. I worked up on Mackinac Island for 3 summers, and I rode the ferry boat every day. What is happening to this PowerPoint? I rode the ferry boat every day to and from the island. And so sometimes I'd get pictures like this of the Mackinac Bridge. And I was trying to think about how I was gonna like talk about this because I don't even know how to explain this. Like, I look at this and I'm speechless. I can't. And then like this was a scene that I saw not this particular scene, but like I saw this bridge every day. I saw this water every day. But I'm standing here and I can't say anything to you about it other than like look at its vastness, look at its like power, like look at the power in the clouds. Like it stormed that day. It was actually really.
Look at the contrast between the light and the dark.
Yeah.
How it's playing against each other there, but
Yeah.
the darkness is all centered in kind of one area and then it's surrounded
Yeah.
by the light as well. And I don't know, the lighting looks really pretty in that picture.
Yeah. I remember the boat ride was super bumpy, and I waited to ride my bike home because it was pouring for like ever. I was like, I'm not gonna do that. I'm like, I don't wish to get wet right now. But anyways, that's not the point. But like, yeah. So there's that. In contrast, literal same scenery. Different day, different time, same summer, I think. But I think I said sunsets also give me sunrises, sunsets. I don't know, I just look at really consider the fact that like God gives us another day, gives us the breath of life and gives us the ability to do the work that we do, the ability to love each other, the ability to speak the truth of his word. And that's what I see in this picture.
You see the cross, the light, the sun in the center, kind of like,
Right here.
yeah, like the cross.
I never noticed that, but thank you for pointing that out. And here's another sunset from the island for contrast. So I guess going off of that, like just if you have a chance today, I don't know the schedule off the top of my head, if you get a chance to go out and take a walk today, say thank you to God for the chance to be able to be here at Pretty Lake and enjoy nature. And granted, okay, it's cold and wet and snowy and icy and gross, but like, I hear you, Catherine. But like, that's neither here nor there. And yeah, God gave us another day to speak his truth and love each other. And I think that's something to be thankful for. All right, next thing, beauty and art. So this quote I found randomly, and I was looking for a saint to go along with it. Couldn't find one, or one that I liked anyways. So I wish to create a church so beautiful that it would move even the hardest heart to prayer. The unknown architect, that was hard, of Glastonbury Abbey. Now, I was reflecting on this quote, and I actually thought more, I guess I thought deeper into what this person might have been saying. The fact that he wanted to build a building, okay, that moved people to pray. Okay, that makes sense. But wouldn't it be even more beautiful to, yes, build a building, that would move people to pray, but to be people that would move other people that have the hardest of hearts to be able to pray. Because we are the church. Yes, we worship in buildings, some of which are probably the most beautiful things that exist on earth. And I'm not going to deny that. But again, we are the church. And we are the things, the people who bring other people to prayer and to Jesus. Now, another reason that people might be brought to Jesus is art, is architecture. And like I said, I'm not denying that. But just think about that. Think about the power that you have inside of you to pray for those people who have a hardness of heart, who need conversion in their lives. Because Jesus gave us that. All right, so more pictures, because they're my favorite. This first picture that I have is also from my escapades working up north. This is the Catholic Church on Mackinac Island, St. Anne's. I've never been overseas. I've never really gotten to see any of our great, cathedrals or basilicas or anything like that, except for on TV or in pictures online. And I've only belonged to, I think, 4 parishes, technically for longer than, 3 months at a time. And honestly, I think St. Anne's is probably the most beautiful. And now I realize this was a dark picture taken on my crappy phone that you can't really tell even what the stained glass is of, and that's fine, because I think the point that I'm trying to get across here is not that necessarily that the church is beautiful. It is. It's beautiful. It's cute. It's really tiny, actually, because, Mackinac Island's only like 4 square miles around, and there's not a lot of room to put buildings. But what it is that makes it beautiful is the history, the traditions, the people that make up the church. When people talk about basilicas and shrines and people going to visit those places who aren't even Catholic, and they go because they're so beautiful, that's really cool. And that got me to thinking, that same thing happens at this tiny church on Mackinac Island. And I don't remember the numbers now, and I didn't look them up. I'm sorry. But they have, I don't even know, millions of people that visit the island annually over the summer. And many of them, Catholic or not, worship at St. Anne's from all over the world. It's not a huge basilica. It's not a cathedral. It's a tiny church on the middle of a 4 square mile island in the middle of northern Michigan, in the middle of a lake. So consider that. Beauty can be anywhere, in any place, at any time. You just have to be aware of it and be open to it. The next picture I have for you, finally not some pictures of my own, is a painting of Adam and Eve from, I don't know what the date of it is. I should have looked it up, my bad. From Albrecht Dürer. My German is bad, I'm sorry, guys. Durer was born in 1471 and he died in 1528. He was a German painter, but I don't know why I wrote Roman in my notes. Anyways, he was from Germany, and he painted during the Renaissance, where the human form was a very large part of the Renaissance, especially in painting and art and whatnot. I don't claim to be an expert in this, so you can go look up more of this on your own later. But I actually got the inspiration to use this picture last weekend when I was at home visiting my parents. My mom's an art student, and I was helping her make a PowerPoint, and this was in like the part of her textbook that she was using, and there was a specific quote that I should have written down that I didn't, that Durer used, that talked a lot about beauty, and like the human form, and how beauty is made up of a lot of different elements, and that whenever he painted the human form, he couldn't take elements from just one person. He took, a bunch of elements from a bunch of different people, or what have you. So I just found that to be very interesting, and yeah, just to think on, and I wanted to share that, and it's a very apropos picture, so there you go. This last picture I have is actually a very recent picture. You might have seen it floating around Facebook if you're on social media. That's where I first saw it, actually, and it took a little digging to find out where it originated from. The artist who painted it is named Carlos Safwat. I probably butchered that name, it's fine. But he painted it actually only last year, and he's from Egypt. And it was painted after his father saw visions of what it would be like to meet Jesus on his deathbed. And I know when I first saw this picture, I think I cried, which is not surprising for me, but you laugh, but it's true. I mean, yeah, it's just beautiful. Okay, I'm just not even gonna adore this picture for a minute, and then I'll click on. All right. Beauty in music. The marvels of God are not brought forth from oneself. Rather, it is more like a chord, a sound that is played. The tone does not come out of the chord itself, but rather through the touch of the musician. I am, of course, the lyre and harp of God's kindness. Saint Hildegard of Bingen. I'm really glad I found this quote, actually, and from this particular saint. Being a musician myself, I feel like this quote is so true, and I feel like I've tried to say this before, but not as tactfully. And as a musician, I feel like I'm always better when I, sing or play with other musicians. I'm always made better by the gifts of the people around me. That being said, I think that that's a good thing to be aware of, to be outside of oneself for a while, to realize that yes, we do, we can do things selflessly, but everyone else can too. And if we all do things together selflessly, that's the beauty of God right there. Yeah. Okay, so forewarning, St. Hildegard of Bingen is one of the most BA saints there ever was. One of my favorites. She was born in 1098, and she died in 1197. She was actually canonized and named a doctor of the church in 2012, so pretty recently. She was a Benedictine nun, but she was also a mystic, a composer, a pharmacist, and a bunch of other things that I didn't care to write down. But literally, like an author, an artist, a bunch of other things. So, like pretty much anything you can imagine, she probably did it. One thing that I really connect with St. Hildegard, well, partially, anyways. As a mystic, she saw visions, and with those visions, she saw the harmony of God's creation and the people in it, which I guess was common for a lot of mystics, from what I read anyways. But I've also read before too that as contemporary physicians and doctors have studied the visions and the, I guess the symptoms of those visions, because it was often said too that when she had visions, she would get violently ill, and things like that, that she might have also been having migraines. And Jeremy laughs, but I'm not kidding. I have migraines, so I connected to that. I realize that. So, yeah, I don't know. Yeah, she's a pretty, like I said, BA lady. But anyways.